Welcome to the eCast. This is a podcast and a videocast for entrepreneurs, angels in the digital world. Today I'm back again with Jack, who is my co-host.
Yeah,
Welcome, Jack.
Thank you very much.
Jack is pretty involved with the digital world, and you brought a guest.
Yes, Jonathan.
Hi.
Yeah.
Hi.
Hi.
Welcome, Jonathan. And with the segment, how we're going to start going forward would be to get all of the guests to bring in an article and share it with you so that we can have a discussion on that. But before we begin, I just kind of wanted to ask Jack about how is it so far?
So the podcast has been great.
Yeah.
I've reached out to a lot of digital marketers.
Yeah.
And in the future episodes, we'll be focusing a lot about giving value to the startup ecosystem and digital and the whole digital marketing space. So I think there'll be more great things to come.
Yeah.
And Jonathan will have a lot of good things to share with us today as well.
Looking forward to it.
Yeah.
And Jonathan, you are a student
Yep.
and running a business as well.
Yep.
Yeah. So how long have you been running your business so far?
So I've been doing digital marketing agency for about a year now,
Yeah.
specializing in e-com
Okay.
businesses. Yep.
What made you want to start a business? Because studying in itself was pretty hard, and now you have to sort of juggle between running a business and doing your studies as well.
I think honestly, what motivated me is like you know how they always say 9 to 5 rat race and stuff.
Yeah.
And like I think people take the sense where I'm taking so much risk when I go into business. Actually, it's really not that. I think you actually, when you're in your 20s, you should do 100% of that because you can take 100% risk and actually not fail a lot as well. And as long as you like minimize all your downside, you actually got a lot of upside, and it could potentially be a career in the future. That's kind of why, yeah.
I definitely think that as students, not just students, but in your 20s, like what you mentioned, to start off in this journey, it's like the perfect way to start because you can afford to take the risk, right? You've got time on your side and you can fail. And that is one of the most amazing things. Failure makes you smarter and you learn from it. Actually, today in the startup world, failure is celebrated. When you started, Jack, like how many times would you say like you've experienced failure in the whole journey?
I think I'm still experiencing like some failure now, even though it's been a year since I started my own agency. But I think that's part of life, right? And I think if we take away like lessons from it, don't make the same mistake.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's great, right?
Well, without failures, you wouldn't have success, right?
Exactly,
Like
of
that.
course.
I sort of like without bad things, you would have good things, and without good things, is bad. Not just say that failures are bad. Like failures are actually
Great.
things that allow us to become stronger and smarter as well.
Yeah.
So how is the journey so far in terms of balancing school and work?
Like I'm honestly really jealous of Jack because like Jack is like 24/7. He can do whatever he wants.
Yeah.
And like he can focus entirely on it. I think in school I get impatient because I'm studying and I know I can take action. Like I know I can like make a lot of progress in business, but then there's this big chunk of time. There's school, there's homework, there's follow up, there's consultation, right? There's everything. Yeah, but more often than not, like I focus like it's 80-20, right? So 80% of my actual mental ability is thinking about the business, and 20% is studying. I know that that's not very good, but in terms of like juggling, like I still can juggle somehow, and I think it's fine.
What do you think, Jack? Because you're a little bit different from
Right.
Jonathan, right? Like you can focus more on your work. How do you think you would have? I mean, did you choose to do your business as opposed to like going to school?
Yeah, as in, I think firstly it was a choice, but I do go to school as well.
Yeah.
I do part-time school, but mine's more in the evening time. And I definitely get his challenges.
Yeah.
Like the homework comes up, but yeah, the client meeting comes up, the deliverables comes up, right? But I think but that's the thing about like when you're young, you have so much energy, so you can just kind of work till 12 every day, and not be okay, and like be okay with it. I think that's a lifestyle that entrepreneurs have to choose.
Yeah.
And I have to choose. But if you want to have like an easy life,
I think
Yeah.
today, I mean, compared to like 10 years ago, right, where you hear a lot of stories about Mark Zuckerberg dropping out of university to go and do his own business, to start Facebook, and you had like Bill Gates, not finishing school as well and going to start companies. I think universities and polytechnics at large are realizing that retaining talents in the university and supporting them with the right resources, with the right sort of knowledge, it's very important. And so we, for instance, work a lot. I personally work a lot as well with universities to support students to become entrepreneurs. And this is the part that I think is interesting about you guys, because you didn't start your businesses through the school, right? It's like you decided to start it. So I just wanted to find out, do a little bit more about like your journey as an entrepreneur, Jonathan, because when did you know how to start? Like, how did you even start?
Understand. So in army, oh my goodness, Jack's army friend.
Yeah.
So at the end, like we are both in army, right? And then in the second year, I basically learned photography and video on my own.
Yeah.
So I went out and bought a camera, and then like self-taught literally through YouTube videos. And then afterwards, I transitioned to commercial photography and videography. Then I realized a lot of media agencies need content creation, right? So it opened up that world. Then afterwards, I transitioned into digital marketing and analytics.
But you couldn't have just applied for a job.
No, actually we couldn't, because we're in army. So we're really in camp all the time. So there's no point for me to do a job. So I did part-time jobs, and literally like freelancer style.
So you started as a gig in the gig economy, sort
Correct.
of doing here. It's kind of like how you started, isn't it, Jonathan?
Yeah.
Like you were doing it for your family in the salon, like how we mentioned last week in the last week's recording, and then you just kind of decided that this was gonna be
I think, I think it's just, so like failures, right? So
Yeah.
I tried a few things. I didn't like digital marketing in the mathematical side of it. So I said, I want to do more content creation. Yeah.
And is this something that you guys have always been involved in? Like you had an interest in terms of the digital world? It's very much like, because it is a new economy. You could have done everything from like setting up a restaurant, which I've met a lot of people wanting to set up cafes and restaurants, but you chose the digital marketing space. Why?
I think it's more like a natural transition, because like photo content, video and photo, I mean they're all in like the same sphere. It's all about media, right? And you'll naturally transition to advertising in the future. It's just that I think digital marketing is very exciting now because it's at the forefront of everything. It's still constantly changing. So I think that's why I like it a lot as well. Because like you're really not as good as any other competitor out there.
Yeah.
The landscape's always changing. So it's always something new to learn.
Yeah. How is the journey so far? I mean, you said that you're experiencing a balancing sort of strategy, but in terms of customer acquisition, going to market, how far are you down the line right now?
So currently, like I've a couple of clients in Singapore, but I want to transition to e-com brands outside of Singapore.
Yeah.
So that's where I'm focusing my efforts right now.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it's like getting the branding,
Correct.
the big corporations to come in and work.
Actually, you don't really have to do big corporations, because nowadays like e-com stores, they sell worldwide. So imagine a company, a brand, right? They can scale from 6 figures all the way to 7 figures, just literally using one Shopify store and Facebook.
Yeah.
Like that's how powerful digital marketing is.
Well, it's the cheapest way to access, right? I
Yes.
think one of the things that digital marketing has enabled any company really is the ability to remove the friction of having to pay for rental costs and like hire people and do everything in a brick and mortar space. Digital marketing allows you to, especially the e-commerce space, allows you to access a wide, at a very cost-effective way. And the other space that I think is very interesting is because, I mean, for you, Jack, like you guys don't just utilize platforms. You also create content a lot on the video space. And is that how you guys are sort of, do you guys work together?
Not yet.
Not yet.
Soon to come, soon to come. Yeah.
Soon somebody's gonna give somebody business.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
Where do you see the challenges in the digital marketing space? Especially for young entrepreneurs,
For all young entrepreneurs.
new entrepreneurs.
Actually, there's really nothing holding you back.
Yeah.
Because I can set up a Shopify store in half an hour, and I can start running ads and start making money like in half an hour. So actually, it's honestly not very difficult. It's just whether you know your systems in place, whether you can build processes, workflow, and hire people to actually execute on your behalf. I think that's the difficult part where you can replicate your process. Because
Scalability. That's
Yes,
something. Yeah.
correct,
The
yeah.
ability to scale is one of the biggest challenges. Yeah.
correct.
But in
Yeah.
terms of getting customers, I think one of the biggest worries is that, okay, so I've set up a digital marketing platform now. How do I go about getting customers?
Yeah.
I guess that would be the main thing. If say somebody's listening to this podcast and they're coming in as with a mindset of how do I get there, right?
Okay.
What would be your from your experience? What would you say?
I would say go to every how-to guide on the internet and just read, because I think with the internet, like, there's really no excuse for you not to be up to par. Like,
Yeah.
the playing field is really very level. Like,
Yeah.
anybody can come in and disrupt the space.
Yeah.
So it's a matter of whether you want to do it, whether you're hungry enough to actually go get that knowledge or not. I think like Jack can attest to that. Like, he learned video all on his own, and now we're shooting with an A7 III.
Yeah. How did you learn video?
A lot of YouTube, a lot of failures too. So a lot of times like I would and shoot on my own, test, fail, and then now I test, and now it's
But
good.
was it something that you were like passionate already, or was it more like because the necessity to it, and then you went to have to learn that?
I think in terms of content in any business, you need to create, either blogs or audio or video,
Yeah.
or, and I was like, I hate writing.
Yeah.
Like, I'm a little dyslexic too, so
Yeah.
I hate writing. And I realized actually photos and videos are what I want to do.
Well, that's the reason why we're sitting here, right? Because I don't like writing at all. I mean, I appreciate the value of having to create blogs and write contents and document what is in my head. But I find it so dreadful to have to sit there and like find the right type of words and knowing that somebody's gonna go back to it and read it and then nitpick in every single one of those kind of choices of words that I use. Video content, I think, was one of the interesting space that I kind of explored in my earlier sort of years of before starting podcasting. But ultimately, I felt like podcast and video casting was where I drew more of my passion, because it was, in my view, was the last medium to get decentralized. Like if you look at journalism in terms of the newspapers, right? Blogging kind of enable anybody to become a journalist, to be able to write down and document that. And then video, like if you look at how journalism happened for newscasters, video casting allowed people to be decentralized. Anybody can be reporting something on videos. But then the listening part, at large, I think, before podcast became mainstream, it was largely dominated by radio sort of channels. And now anybody with a camera like us could pick anywhere in the world and just sit there and like literally record a conversation. That, in my view, is probably one of the most sort of widely achievable in terms of audience-wise. Talking about audience, so you brought an article, and it has it's actually about leads generation, if I understand that. So could you give us a little bit of insights on what the article is about?
So basically, the article is talking about how Facebook ads have changed, and like consumers nowadays are much smarter. So
Okay.
in terms of traffic and conversion wise on like your Facebook feed and how you sell through the platform, like you said, it's very much about video content now, because audiences don't want to be sold to. They want to attach to their brand. They want to like build a connection, like a real
Well, people don't buy
relationship.
products; they buy experiences.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah. So like in terms of that direct response marketing, where like come and buy my product, like it doesn't work anymore. Yeah. So people actually, like brands in general, have to understand that they have to build like social currency and
Yeah.
brands.
I like that. Yeah, the social currency aspect of it. It's become. I mean, there's no monetization put into it. Like there's no a dollar sign, and oftentimes that is what founders tend to overlook. If you look at how the social currency was valuable, that is the reason why Facebook is worth over billions, right? It's that social foundation that they've actually built upon. Instagram, same thing.
Yeah.
When you talked about this space in terms of Facebook ads, what do you think are sort of the changing trends at this moment?
So recently, Mark Zuckerberg had like F8 in 2019,
Yeah.
and because of like Cambridge Analytica and stuff, there's a lot of privacy concerns. But the thing is, like as a marketer myself, I know Mark actually cares about profits a lot.
Yeah.
So he actually will take care of the marketer. Yeah, so in terms of ad space, there will still be the same number of ads. It's just that how they protect your data will be a bit different.
Yeah.
And there'll be more focus on groups. So Facebook groups is a big thing. And the transition to that will basically bring up more, like, so basically think of the entire ad inventory, right? When you buy ads, it's real estate, right? So how much real estate is there in the market? So if I bid $1 and you bid $5, right? You're gonna outbid me all the time. So you're gonna get that real estate land space. Yeah, so in the same way, you're bidding for my attention, for the customer's attention. And I think the change to Facebook would be, how can you build social currency strong enough such that you no matter how strong your bid is, my $1 bid is much stronger than your $5 bid.
Okay.
Yeah.
So in terms of like the bidding power, right? Because let's talk about a little bit about that. I think that is a very interesting sort of angle of looking at how of interpreting social currency. Who do you think? I mean, right now it's very obvious that Facebook organizations like Facebook, Instagram, that bidding power. Who do you think they would want to sort of tilt the favor towards?
So actually, like anybody can win on the platform because it's how you treat the customer, how you respect the customer. I know it's a bit weird to say, but
no, but it's the truth.
Correct.
I mean, any business you do want to be obsessed about the customer.
Yes.
You want to know what the customer needs.
Yep.
What is the customer's sort of pain points and solve there, right? But in terms of like the bidding system, like I like it when you think about it in that manner because it becomes less about just about money, but it's about it's a mix of a lot of things, right? Because you look at like the strength of that brand, you look at the affiliation, like what are you gonna gain out of that being affiliated to these partners. It talks a lot about partnerships. So could you elaborate a little bit more about that bidding, sort of the bidding war?
Okay, so basically, Facebook is determined on two things. So I need to satisfy the user experience, and I need to satisfy the marketer. That's how I make money.
Yeah.
So they need to ensure the user experience is good enough such that marketing content on the platform, ads, actually served up, actually satisfy the user intent. So like companies like Jack's brand, right? He's gonna make a lot of money because he understands he needs to create content, social content that is going to develop relationships with the audience. And Facebook loves that. So Facebook will give you a lower bid. So you decrease your cost of advertising while increasing your reach at the same time with content that people actually want to watch. Yeah, so that's
engagement is a key word here, right? Because
yep.
How much? What are in your business, Jack? Like, I mean, you as an entrepreneur, how do you tackle that? Because growth is easy, right? You offer something for free, people will come easily, right? Because or cheaply at a discount, people will come. But do they stick around? And that is engagement. And I think that is the code that you guys are constantly trying to crack using the video, by continuously creating content.
Yeah, I think so. In 2013, 14, we're writing a lot of blogs about like giving value. So for example, hair salon, we're talking about how to get this hair or what's the best hair products or stuff like that without selling anything.
Yeah.
And then now we're going to shift into videos. So a lot of my hair salon clients are doing like a conversation with the customer because the customer wants value, right? And engagement comes from value too. So if you, as a customer, are getting your questions answered, like how often should I get a haircut, stuff like that, then it does give that value in.
How does that conversation happen?
So normally what would happen is we just have a video.
Yeah.
Like it doesn't have to be a long video either.
Yeah.
We can just, because as a SME or a startup, you can be that authority figure and talk about this, right? This podcast is another thing.
Yeah.
So that's what we do. We just create very modular content, 30 seconds or 1 minute. We just disperse it out, and that works because it gives value and it gives like engagement as well, and that increases the brand value, which is the longevity of it as well.
So you put a video out there. Is there any tools that you guys use to continuously to get feedback from the audience that is, and obviously now everything's about data, right? Collecting, understanding like you talked about, understanding your customers. How do you like collect that feedback loop in terms of understanding whether the effectiveness of the content that you put forward, but also to hear back what the customers want?
So I mean, it really depends on like which ad platform you are. and every platform is very good. But Facebook, I think, is the best in terms of analytics tracking. And
Just to be clear, you didn't get paid by Facebook.
no. I don't get paid for it, but they're seriously good. Like the
Yeah.
engineers are really very good.
Of course, they're one of
Yeah.
the biggest ones. They've got like the resources to be able to enable a lot of functions
Yeah.
to bring some of the best talents to work for them. So
Yeah.
they wouldn't have thought through a lot of this. Yeah, so undoubtedly they would have some of the most complete sort of tools for analytics.
Yeah. So actually, like all of your analytics is tracked by the platform. Whether you're on Snapchat, I think ByteDance has TikTok. Yeah, TikTok, Facebook. Like literally every single platform has analytics tracking. So once you see the data, like understand what's working, then you should pump out more of that video content.
Yeah.
So for example, if like Jack films 5 videos, we put out 5 videos, distribute the platform on the platform, right? Run like $200 per ad, right? And then see which one works the best. And then I go and tell Jack, this works very, very well. This engagement is like insane. Then he's gonna produce more of that type of content, and that's how you develop the relationship. Yeah.
So like, what kind of metrics do you use for that? Do you use engagement value or like, what's that?
So usually you can run like engagement campaigns and see how much you're spending per campaign. So like you're telling Facebook's AI, I want you to go get engagement for me, and then you can literally see how much percent per engagement you're getting. So for example, like 0.5 cents per engagement or 0.001 per engagement. Yeah. So you can really see the numbers like straight up.
Okay.
Do you do that?
Yeah, so we do ad sets, right? That's what we call it, right? Ad sets.
You just run engagement.
Yeah. So we do ads and we let the campaign optimize it for us.
Yep.
So that it runs the best ads. Yeah.
And that will kick into your strategy of how you're gonna run your next campaign as well, isn't it?
Yep.
Yeah, that's right.
And how do you balance that? Because obviously content creation takes a lot of time and a lot of effort. But doing the analytics and understanding, I mean, they kind of go hand in hand.
Yeah.
As an entrepreneur myself, I find that I can't separate certain portions of my business. And so I end up doing a lot of things and having to have that balancing. It becomes quite a strange sort of way to maneuver your way. But like you don't think of it that way, because if you come from school, right, universities, they would teach you that, you know, you be very good at one thing and then you're very good at another thing. But in this particular example, you have to be doing both the content creation, do the analytics, defining the strategy, running the business by yourself. Are you doing it by yourself right now?
I have one employee.
One employee, and you have 3
Yeah.
at the moment. So how do you guys balance that?
How do you do it first?
You're talking about planning, is it?
Like how to like delegate different aspects of your business,
Yeah.
right? Digital marketing, content creation, analytics.
Yeah.
How do you do that well for yourself?
So for me, it's like priority, right? So I know Jack's good in video, so I shouldn't do the video.
Okay.
Like what is the highest income producing activity here? It's strategy, framework, and execution delegation, right? So I trust Jack to do his work. So I'm like, okay, Jack, I want to hire you for X number of data. Then I'll just go think about strategy and execute on behalf. Yeah. Then I work with Jack. Okay, Jack, this is working very well, and then we just communicate from there. Like I don't think school can teach you this. I think it's more just experience.
And you do it out of fail, like you have to fail enough,
correct.
like mess up, like literally fuck up a few times to be able to realize, okay, we can't keep doing this. It's being very costly. It's time wasting.
Correct.
Is that how you kind of balance your business right now?
Yeah, I think so. A lot of trial and error. So like a lot of my employees would do a few things, and I'll see what they're good at, and I'll let them explore as well. And then if, let's say Michelle would be good at one thing, I would give her more of that one thing because she likes it as well, and then that's how we diversify.
So for those of you who don't know, Michelle is sitting right behind the camera, and she's helping us with the lighting and everything. So yeah, I mean that is interesting, because you see you have all of these different things, but then how much time do you devote in terms of content creation?
I think for my company, we do it 80-20. For his company, it would be the opposite way. So we spend 80% of our time creating content and 20% of the time actually dispersing it. Whereas here would be more about dispersing content than creating content.
Because he gets other people to create the content.
Yeah, exactly.
Whereas you guys want to be seen as the content creative thing part. What is the right formula? Is there a right formula? I don't know.
No, there's no right formula.
There's no right formula.
Yeah.
It's both essential.
Yeah.
And that's why I do 20% of it, and that's why he does 80% of his own time doing it as well.
Yeah.
It's just different ways. And I think
You see, for my business, I totally see the value of creating content, and I keep wanting to create content. Like sit down, I have so much stuff in my head. I don't know if I can devote 80% of the time
Yeah.
on content creation, but it's so valuable because everything you create, especially in the digital world, it stays there, and
Yep.
people can keep referring to it. Whereas if you don't balance that right, you end up creating working very hard, right? But people don't get to see you.
Yes, that's right. Right? Like
Yeah.
what's point
Yeah.
of like a video with 10 views?
Yeah.
We spend 10 hours on it. That's not a good ROI.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Are you guys both from NUS?
Here's
No,
the thing.
I'm
You're in US, and you are in.
I've just started my own business, so I have not gone to university yet.
No, going to university. Great. I think there's a lot of value in education for sure. I like education, and I think, but one of the things that is a good dynamic here, right, is that you're sort of starting your business as you are studying, and trying to balance that act. Right, and whereas you are like exploring more the corporate world, well, not corporate, but like starting your business first, and then deciding later on whether you wanna do your studies. In my thinking, right, I wish I had started businesses much earlier. I think there are, in the Western world, people tend to be like the sort of new generation. Your generation, right? They tend to really appreciate, starting businesses. Education it's also expensive in the Western world. They need to get loans.
Failure is free, by the way.
Yeah,
That's great, but it's like it's super valuable. So I mean,
and actually, no, this is really interesting because the younger you are, the cost of failure is actually lower.
Yeah. You have no wife?
The older, you don't have any partners, you don't have liabilities, you don't have you don't have major expenses, you don't have a mortgage to pay. Whereas the older you become, by the point you get to my age, you really can't afford to be fair. It becomes very expensive. Every minute of your life that you spend experimenting and trying to learn is costing you an opportunity for making money elsewhere, right? In terms of the corporate world.
Yeah.
How is the journey so far for you?
How's the journey?
Yeah, sure.
I
So far.
think it's
I mean,
great.
it's only the first
Yeah.
year, right? So you're
Yeah.
still sort of balancing the act.
I think it's great, man. Like you really open up a lot of, open up your mind a lot, because it's like everything I do now is also a transferable skill set. Like I learn management, I learn marketing. I can go into I'm very confident in going to any business now, and I can just tell me some of your metrics. I can understand your cash flow and stuff, and I can go in and implement anything.
Well, you're also studying accounting, so that is unfair.
No, but I think it's fantastic. It's really like consulting. I can literally go into any company and ask the marketing manager what the heck is happening here, and then understand their business through and through, and then tell them, okay, you need to do this to increase your top line by this much. Yeah. So I don't think it's a waste of time at all, and I think it's very good. Even if I want to transition back to a 9 to 5, right? Yeah.
You're referring to the fact that you're starting a business, right?
I don't think that has to do with anything.
But what I mean is that what you're referring to in terms of your experiences in the consulting, experiences that you are able to sort of add value to many sectors, that is gained from your business side,
Yes,
right?
yeah.
So what would you say are the value of your education, and how has that complemented your ability to become an entrepreneur?
Yeah. I have to be honest with you, it's not a lot, but I want to hear your opinion on this, right? Because you talked about something very interesting just now. You said something about decentralization, and I think another industry that is going to be decentralized, majorly disrupted, is education, because how can I pay $1,000 online for a course and learn more in that than I can in 4 years? That makes no sense to me. So I kind of want to hear your
my views.
Because
I would say that, and this is a good point. It's a good question. So decentralizing education is something that working with many startups I've seen is becoming a trend now. I was actually on a panel discussion 2 years ago, and this was in the US, right? It's a very outdated example, but I think it's relevant in this context. Because there was a founder that asked a panel of VCs and lawyers, why is it that investors aren't really looking at edutech? So technologies that are decentralizing education, access for education. And the VC and the lawyers' feedback was that, very simplistic put. I mean, back then, the sexy stuff was medtech, AI, anything with AI, anything with pharma, medtech, anything to do with fintech, is stuff that was very sexy. Like it was just like what VCs were looking at, 30 times returns, 50 times return, 100 times return. Back then, the e-commerce space like Alibaba, social media, Facebook, Instagram had just come out, started to get really high valuation. So when you're looking at the other side of the fence, education, it becomes very bland, right? It's like so many variables. I mean, everything from like being education itself, the material has to be approved by government, right? By a lot of the educational sort of departments in certain countries, and then getting content creators. So that is the challenging part, getting qualified with the right credibility of people to be able to be there as an authority and create educational content. 'Cause educational content can be just from anybody and everybody. And then the next thing would be, how do you even reach the audience that want to learn? Like, we are learning through real life experiences, but not everybody will want to pay to learn. And how much are you willing to pay? So there's more challenges to edutech, but those are the things that they were looking at. And I actually had a conversation with the founder afterwards, and I said, you're looking in the wrong area. I think in places like the US and Europe, edutech might not get that kind of crazy valuation, right? But in Asia, it's a very different story. We actually, like you said, we appreciate in our culture, culturally, but also in terms of the way that we were brought up. Education is a very key component of how we become smarter, right? Our parents always told us that. So decentralizing this space so that people that wouldn't be able to access the same level of education just because they were economically less advantaged, or language-wise, right? Or physically not in that accessible. It's definitely a very interesting area that we're seeing more and more disruption. Is that where you see wanting to disrupt education?
Yeah, because like you think about it, like how is Jack so confident in not going to school?
Yeah.
Like it's because I think it's because of this, right?
Yeah,
Like,
I think
Because you learn through YouTube and stuff. Like, where do you seek for education,
so
content?
like there's like Skillshare, so we have like people that create content, like you said, right? But I think the issue that a lot of university and young kids that go to university have is, if I go to university, I should get a job that's paid 2.8 or 3 or 3.5. But actually, if John went to a company right now and said, I want to be your marketer for 5K and I have no degree, they will give it to him because he has value in his experience.
Yeah.
And I think that's the thing that I'm looking into as well. And that's what
I think businesses and are definitely, the trend is definitely changing. They are also realizing that hiring the MBA or hiring somebody with masters, right? It's not enough, right? You don't have experiences. You've never failed in life, and if you haven't failed, if you haven't gone out and experimented, getting experiences, real life experiences, it's not very valuable, because education, in a way, I talk a lot about this, but I would say that in a way education needs to be reformed. It needs to be relooked at, and the way that we've done traditionally has worked for a certain period of time. But in the new economy, where everything is moving digital and everything is accessible today, right? How relevant it is to still be in a brick and mortar sort of education area. If I'm not wrong, I think organizations in Singapore, like NUS, SMU, they do have sort of decentralized way of teaching students. Like, you can take a course online, you can read stuff on blogs. They do publish quite a lot of things.
Yeah, I think for example, like at NUS. So one of my interns is an NUS design student.
Yeah.
And they have a program where every designer has to create a Kickstarter.
Yeah.
So like that's where NUS does that great, I think.
Yeah.
Where like they really let the people try.
Yeah.
And fail. And they want them to fail as well. But some of them succeed and they make money and they quit school.
Yeah.
Things happen, but I think that's where universities are actually kind of allowing their platform to become a bit bigger than what I can do personally or what John can, without,
Just an interesting question. Like, how were your grades at school? Be very honest here.
Actually,
You don't need to report to
yeah.
anybody because now
Yeah,
this
yeah.
is we are in a podcast
Yes,
and
yes.
you don't need to feel the pressure. You're not being assessed as a job, but like
Yeah.
be very honest. Like how were you at school?
I wasn't bad. I could have gone to university in London for business, one of the top 3 business in the UK.
Yeah.
And I just declined it.
Yeah.
So I wasn't that bad, but I wasn't.
The top is your.
Yeah, I wasn't creme
Cool.
de la creme.
What about you?
Like pre-U or you?
Let's say pre-U.
Pre-U? I got 39. You?
I was 36.
Okay.
No, okay. He could have gone to Oxford.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, so he was a very smart man.
Yeah.
Nah.
Yeah. And it's
I just add one point.
Yeah.
I think like what Jack said, right? It's not about 2.5, 3. I think what school doesn't teach you is like the market will pay what you're worth. Like
Yeah.
there's no doubt about it, right? It's like stock market. It's unbiased. The market will value how big a problem you can solve.
Yeah.
So how much money you make is not dependent on your degree. Like
Yeah.
nobody cares about your degree.
Yeah.
it's about like can you get results?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I would say, yeah, I totally agree with you. But back in terms of like your pay, right? In connection to your degree of what you get in terms of score system, there's no direct correlation at all.
Yeah.
It's nothing to say that you were A student, A plus student, and you would make a lot of money in the real life. And ultimately, what is the outcome that we're trying to get? All of that certification, all of that degree, ultimately is to land you a position where you can make a income that is respectable and you're satisfied with that, right? And actually, to quote Robert Kawasaki, he actually did say that. I think you guys probably read the book, Poor Dad, Rich Dad, or something like that. And he did say in a part that resonates with this, which is A students work for C students. And I was definitely a C student. Like I was never a student. I think the ability to survive through the real world is definitely a lot more valuable. However, I think education, I'm just saying this diplomatically, but I've also come to appreciate education in the sense that it lays the foundation, the basis, and it gets you there faster. I think I met a lot of fantastic entrepreneurs who's never had a proper sort of university degree, and they didn't need to, but it took them longer experimenting and figuring things out. Something that, if you went through a proper sort of university, they wouldn't have compiled all of those experiences from very successful entrepreneurs to put it forward to you. And that is the part that I think sort of looping back to your question in terms of, do we need to decentralize education? I think for content, absolutely yes. And in a way, universities are already doing that. What we can decentralize is the experience of education, of going to a university, which is being able to be connected to your peers in the same classroom, being affiliated. If I look at a lot of businessmen today that we work with, many of them have said, well, I have a friend of mine who went to NUS as well, or who went to Harvard, and we have a network there. And I think that is, you need to see what you want to pick up from there, right?
It's not the same, right?
It's not the same.
It's not the same. You have to be an NUS alumni to be
Yeah.
connected. Yeah, and there's that I'm kind of looking for as well.
That branding and everything.
Yeah.
Whereas if you're not affiliated to an institution, you can still build that, but it would be so much harder. Like it takes a lot of hustle.
Of course, yeah.
Yeah. You do have to network a lot as well to
Yeah.
build that sort of, and the power to be able to leverage off somebody else whose parents or who themselves have become very successful in their businesses, and to be able to use that to your business advantage is a little bit different from people who don't have that connection.
Yeah, definitely.
And I hope you see that as well as you progress through your years of university. I think content can be decentralized. In a way, connectivity can be decentralized, but spending 4 years with the same sort of environment, being recognized by a alma mater, so-called, right? Carrying that branding, that is what institutions are starting to evolve into. Especially the ones that are newer universities, they are recognizing that if you look at it from a country perspective, it's like patriotism. Like you want to be affiliated to that institution. Yeah. Great. Well, I think it's been a great segment today. I think we are almost running out of time.
Yep.
But I'd like to thank Jonathan
you.
for joining us today to talk about everything from digital marketing to leads generation and wrapping up with the sort of entrepreneur student bridge. Hopefully, it will encourage more sort of people in their 20s to make better decisions whether they should do education. And there's no right or wrong, right? It's always a matter of a choice. But once you choose it, then you want to make sure that you commit to it and you complete the entire section. So what would be your parting advice to the audience
Parting advice,
as an entrepreneur and doing studies and balancing everything?
I think you should stop thinking and just do it.
Just do it like Nike's slogan.
Yeah.
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 Well, any final thoughts?
I think if you're owning any startup or an SME, just create content. Just take a camera of your phone, doesn't matter, just talk to the camera for 2 minutes every day. And that will give you much more benefit than paying an agency $10,000 to make one commercial for you.
That's good advice.
Yeah.
It's just practice, isn't it?
Yeah, it
A
is,
practice makes perfect. I mean, you might seem a little bit awkward in the first 2 minutes of like your first 2 recordings, but then as you do more and more recording, you get more sort of natural with that.
Exactly.
Yeah. Well, thank you for watching or listening to us, whichever way you are catching up with us. I'm here with Jonathan. Thank you, Jonathan. And Jack. We'll be back again next week. And I'm Gustavo Liu. This is the Eat Podcast.
Thank you.